So we obviously know the breaking news of Simon Harris saying that immigration levels are too high, but also he said that people aren't facilitating debate. People aren't allowing debates to happen about immigration. And here we have a gripped media article from Taoiseach Micheál Martin declaring that he facilitates debate on this issue, okay? He denies adamantly that his government has ever tried to shut down debate on migration, which obviously we know is complete BS and not true whatsoever. They've been refusing to even talk about immigration for the last 20 years. It's only now when we see attacks at City West, we see the numbers out of control, we see Donald Trump now coming into office in the US, now changing the landscape of things. Now they actually want to talk about immigration in Ireland.
Simon Harris was saying this, that he felt many left-wing politicians have kind of shut down the migration debate if people tried to have legitimate criticisms of it. Do you accept that the government has also stifled immigration debates in the past, and that your government and senior political figures have played a role in that as well?
Well, I think there's no... as far as I'm concerned, we facilitate a debate. I facilitate debate all of the time. I engage in debate. I think migration has been, is an issue for people, but let's be clear, migration has been positive as well in the overall sense of the country. If you look at our health service, for example, the number of people who have come into Ireland to work in Ireland, to deliver services in Ireland, it's very significant. You look at
when we talk about migration in the health sector, they always bring up this, the left always bring up the health sector, but we wouldn't need people to be coming in to help with the health sector if we didn't have mass immigration into the country. So it's kind of a catch-22 there.
Technology industry, people who come into the country through either work permits or who come in from the European Union. Many people from across the European Union work in Ireland. And it's been of very significant benefits to inward investment into the country. So migration must be looked at comprehensively. And not in a negative way. So we haven't been trying to cite a debate on migration, but what we have been doing is to try and create the context for a proper debate, an informed debate, and also to be very clear that there can be no tolerance for any hostility or anger or indeed violence against people because of ethnic backgrounds. And we make no apology for being very forthright in respect of that issue, because I have met people who Irish citizens who, because of their ethnic background, have come under aggression and so on, and that's not good enough.
So that's completely false. That's just him giving an anecdotal account of people that he knows being under attack for being immigrants into the country. That's just false, guys. There's no basis in fact whatsoever for that. But also, nobody's talking about violence to these people. We're just talking about, can we have a debate about the numbers being too high? It's very simple, but obviously he knows that he's been wrong in the past. He knows that he has been stifling debate on this topic. So now the truth has come out finally. Because even if you look at this video from a few weeks ago, he's basically saying Ireland for the Irish is an incitement to violence. Any sort of debate, any sort of talking points on immigration is an incitement to violence, is you're racist, you're homophobic, you're anti-migrant, you're racist, you're fascist. Like, it's just completely ridiculous. Now he's just completely flipped 180.
And the type of language that we're experiencing about Irish for the Irish and all of that is now creating, it's having an impact where violence is happening. And it's tantamount to an incitement.
Absolute insanity. We have another video here from Gripped Media, Gripped working overtime today, saying that over 50% of homeless adults in Ireland are foreign, which is a crazy, startling statistic. That's unbelievable. That means that basically 50% of the people here aren't contributing to society, aren't actually helping the country in any way. They're just living off the welfare state. We should at least take the 50% that are Irish and put them into homes, okay, putting your own people first. We can't even do that, guys. It's unreal.
Emergency accommodation figures up every month during your term as housing minister. When's that going to change?
It has, and we've seen emergency accommodation numbers now, for a long time going up and up. Anybody, who's in emergency accommodation, I don't want them there. We certainly don't want to change any children that come down. I believe it will. But the only way to address homelessness in this country, the only way to address high rents is by supply.
According to the report that was released most recently, over half of people in emergency accommodation, adults, are foreign nationals, people from outside the European Union and inside the European Union. What is your reaction to that, I suppose, and what does that say about the broader issue of people in emergency accommodation?
I think to tackle homeless homelessness and people who are going into emergency accommodation, we have to understand the makeup and where they are coming from to be able to activate preventative measures so we can prevent people going into homelessness. So I think that would, and I think what I'm really doing now in homelessness is getting down into that granular level. We identifying the families who need accommodation, working with the local authorities and get those people off emergency accommodation as quickly as possible, but also preventing families going into emergency accommodation. I think while homelessness numbers have been going up, and that's totally unacceptable, we also have record preventions of families going into emergency accommodation and also record exits of people coming out of emergency accommodation. And so I think all of that working together is what's essential, but ultimately it's all about supply.
But just on the specific issue, I mean, you say it's about supply, but if we have people who are coming from abroad who are then ending up homeless on the street, there's a potentially unlimited number of people who could end up in that position. Obviously, we know that many of these are people who are leaving the iPass system and so on. So, all the supply in the world is not going to account for that. So just on the specific issue, do you have any kind of reaction to that phenomenon that we're seeing?
Well, look, we know we have a significant number of people in our iPass centres who have a right to remain in our country, and they've been through a process and they've been regularised.
Well, 80% of people shouldn't be in those iPass centres. That was the new study came out. It said 80% of people that apply to be in the iPass are rejected. So yeah, 80% is a massive number, guys. That means only 20%, only a very few, 1/5 of people should actually be here. What does that mean, guys? Crazy stuff.
And those people do need homes. And so we have to really look at it and say where all of our people coming into our emergency accommodation are coming from within our country and how we can ensure to address that. So we'll be working, for example, with the Department of Justice to work even more closely and with our charities as well who work with the Department of Justice, that when people are leaving iPass centres that they're not going into emergency accommodation, that there is a pathway that they can get into homes as well, and whether that's in HAP or using Homeless HAP or Ross or whatever the case may be, because we don't want anybody in emergency accommodation. But understanding the makeup of people who are in emergency accommodation, where they're coming from, is absolutely crucial to us addressing it. As I said, I don't want to address homelessness as a kind of a homogenous group. We have people in homelessness for a lot of different reasons. For example, we have a lot of people in emergency accommodation in our hostels who also have addiction and mental health issues, and they need those wraparound services. So you're right, look, it's not just about supply, and that's why the housing plan, there will be two pillars in there. One is activating supply, but also is about supporting people as well. And by understanding the people in our emergency accommodation, what their needs are, why they're ending up there, that's how I believe we will really put in the targeted measures to end homelessness, because we are delivering a huge amount of supply of homes, significant increase in social homes, and I do believe we can address it.
I just really think that those 50% of people shouldn't be in the country. Those are 50% of people that don't have Irish passports, that aren't Irish, that are foreign from the country. They shouldn't be living off the welfare, or they shouldn't be on the streets either. It makes it dangerous for the people living here, guys. If you're homeless in this country and you're not from here, you probably shouldn't be in this country. You know what I mean?
Very last question. Do you accept that over half of people within the emergency accommodation system are indeed from abroad? Is that a figure you're aware of?
We published that figure. Approximately 50% of people in emergency accommodation are not Irish citizens. However, they have a right to be here and they have a right to housing supports. But
how the hell do you have a right to housing support and you have a right to be here if you're not from here? Like, you should only be coming here if you're better than the people here in a certain area. Like, if we can't hire somebody to do a brain surgery, we'll hire somebody from the Philippines, we'll hire somebody, whatever, some skilled worker. Not so people can just come here and just live on the street, guys, live on the flipping roads. Like, that's not good, guys, living on O'Connell Street. Like, we have our own homeless to take care of. Unreal, man. I think this is just like crazy stuff.
Our population has been increasing significantly, and I think that's one of the uniqueness of our housing challenges compared to maybe other EU countries who are also in housing crisis. Our population is increasing, but that's people coming over here to work in our health sector, work in our tech sector. We need people to support our economy and to provide the services, and people going in and helping our older people and people with disabilities in their homes very often are migrants who are coming here to work in that industry, and we need those people coming. But we have to understand where the crisis is if we're going to address it. And that's why those understandings are so important.
Unreal. Yes, we do know how to address the actual homeless crisis now, deport all the homeless people that are foreign. That would literally clear up most of the homeless accommodation for people. We have people here that are homeless, that are foreign, living in accommodation that could be used for Irish homeless people. And that's what it should be based around. So lastly, we have Fianna Fáil MEP Cynthia Nimurku talks about migration crime data in Ireland on Tipperary FM. Obviously, the CSO doesn't even allow the government or any sort of body in this country to measure the amount of immigrant crime in the country, which makes it impossible to track and know about the numbers of people and what the crimes they're committing. It's ridiculous. Okay, at least in the US, they're able to track the race, the religion of people committing crimes. Here in Ireland, we're not even allowed to track that. So we don't know who the hell is doing what. The mainstream media are evil. They keep everything swept under the rug. They don't ever publish the names, the dates, the births, where these people are from that are committing these heinous crimes. And I'm reporting on them every single day. But there's never any sort of background to where they're from. But we know if there's no description, that is a description.
In the works, you were talking about data there and maybe the lack of availability. Holly Cairns got a fair bit of flack from her Late Show appearance on Friday night. I'm not sure if you were across that, but some of the data and the stats that she put out there was questionable, to say the least. Do we need more data, particularly on where people coming into the country are concerned and crimes committed? Do we need that to be made available?
So they're talking about Holly Cairns, who was on the Late Show. She said that the Irish people commit way more crimes than immigrant people. But what about per capita? Because there's more Irish people living in Ireland than these other people coming from anywhere else. But do they commit higher violent crime? Yeah, most people would say yes, guys. But the Central Statistics Office, I don't even think they check this stuff. They don't even measure this stuff. So it's impossible to know. But if you watch my YouTube channel for any extended period of time, you know that I'm mostly reporting on this immigrant crime. This violent crime that's happening in the country. So like I said, she just goes on to talk about how she's not against data or data protection, but we need to know this, guys. We need to crack down and we need to start measuring crime in this country based on race, religion, where you're coming from, where you're living, all that kind of stuff, guys. Really specific data about you. Because if we don't, then how are we ever going to actually solve the issue of crime? We need to know what's happening to solve the crime, guys. It's like we have our head in the sand and we don't want to actually admit the truth about these things. When immigrant crime is out of control, we have crime ourselves, of course, but we don't need to be adding to it by bringing in hundreds of thousands of people from North Africa, from the Middle East, from war-torn countries. It's a complete disaster. Let me know your thoughts on that, guys. If you want to support me, hit the join link underneath the video. Become a member today for just €3 per month. I greatly appreciate the support like no other, guys. I really, really appreciate the support like nothing else. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.